Apple, 3 a.m.
The more things change, the more they stay the same. It seems like every day you hear some old gems you played in the past are being brought back to life, selling new age gamers on retro goodness, and having the old guard of gaming praying these devs don't piss on their beloved franchises. This time around, Insomniac Games gives it another go with Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart.
Ratchet, I do not know where I would be without you. You are my closest friend.
In recognition of their adventures, Ratchet and Clank are hailed as galactic heroes in a parade in their honor. During the ceremony, Clank surprises Ratchet with a fixed Dimensionator, so that he may travel across dimensions and find the rest of the Lombax race and his missing family. As you would expect, this party gets crashed by Dr. Nefarious and his goons in an attempt to steal the Dimensionator for himself. During the struggle, Ratchet accidentally shoots the Dimensionator, causing rifts in space-time at random. Ratchet, Clank, and Dr. Nefarious get swept up and pulled into an alternate universe right before the Dimensionator explodes, leaving the three with no way to return home. Ratchet finds himself alone and goes off to search for Clank to make sense of what's going on. Clank loses his arm in the struggle and is picked up by Rivet, the last known Lombax in this universe.
What have I done?
Dr. Nefarious pretty much wins this trip, as in this universe, he is the Emperor, or rather his alternate version is. Our three protagonists set out to rebuild the Dimensionator and find their way home while stopping the dimensional cataclysm, which will no doubt destroy space-time. As this is an alternate universe, you'll come across other versions of characters from past games. There's plenty of hijinks and whimsy to make this a pretty enjoyable story to go around, whether you've played every title in the series or not. You'll notice the gravity of the situation at hand, but you'll always find yourself swept away by the comical delivery of it. This game doesn't take itself too seriously, and it's refreshing to see that even in this generation of gaming, and a trend leaning towards realism, we can still enjoy such lightheartedness in a story. Just the witty banter alone between characters is enough to give Nathan Drake a run for his money.
Why do I need a password? I'm the Emperor. How about I obliterate you instead? Ha 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 ha!
Bring me that lumber!
The game is split between Ratchet and Rivet, the last two known Lombaxes in their respective universes. Despite their looks, they play exactly the same and there are no discernible differences between them. Any upgrades you do with one character are immediately transferred to the other next time you control them. Pretty seamless at first, but I would have liked some variety between the two. That's pretty much my only gripe with the gameplay. Well, that and the difficulty, but at least you can change that. If you've ever picked up a controller in your life, you can get through this game without much of a problem in the default difficulty. You'll definitely see this in the boss fights. While visually appealing, not much to write home about once you figure out you can throw everything you got at them. You also have segments with Glitch, an electronic antivirus spider robot thingy that unlocks certain areas for plot progression. Sounds boring at first, but it makes for a pretty dope shoot 'em up. You'll be crawling around in this itty-bitty tank busting up viruses and cleaning house. Clank also has his segments where he fixes up dimensional rifts, or the puzzles of the game. They start out pretty straightforward and get progressively more complex as new elements are added. Surprisingly enough, while they are necessary to continue the game, both Glitch and Clank segments don't feel like a chore. The weapons in this game are as varied as they are wacky, just like you would expect from an Insomniac game. I mean, seriously, these guys are crafty. You start out pretty tame with your regular pistol, shotgun, and grenades, but then the high kicks in and all of a sudden you're throwing out garden sprinklers, distraction mushrooms, hyper beam cannons, and big-ass drill bits, just to name a few. It's like something out of the Acme catalog from Looney Tunes, and for the most part, they're all fun to use. The topiary sprinkler in particular seems somewhat broken, as it weakens enemies temporarily, and getting familiar with the weapon wheel will have you putting out max damage if you're quick. Almost every weapon in the game has primary and secondary functions, which make use of the adaptive triggers. Half press for one function, full press for the other. All weapons are upgradable provided you have enough raritanium to afford them, and these upgrades become available once you level up your weapons through repeated use. While the story is pretty linear, the game isn't. You can always backtrack to other planets you've been to complete side quests, find gold bolts, raritanium, and other collectibles you may have missed your first time around. You also have the arena, filled with challenges and rewards for your trouble. Replay value also comes in the form of challenge mode. A little twist on New Game Plus as you keep all your upgrades and bolts from your first playthrough, but with added difficulty. If you want to have a good time, you'd better set the game to performance ray tracing mode. Fidelity mode really slows down the game to a choppy mess, and for the type of game that this is, you want that buttery smooth 60 frames per second to really enjoy the action. Frame rate drops are a non-issue in performance ray tracing mode, no matter how hectic the fight gets. You might think to yourself, maybe this could have been released on the PS4. And from a graphics standpoint, you might be right. Outside of the ray tracing and the super fast loading for the rift tethering, it doesn't look all that demanding of the PS5's capabilities. I would have easily played a downgraded version on a PS4 Pro for as good as the gameplay is.
Give me the part.
The cast of characters is straight up star-studded. Your regulars are still here, James Arnold Taylor as Ratchet and David Kaye as Clank, but we also have Jennifer Hale, Robin Atkins-Downs, and Deborah Wilson joining the cast as Rivet, Emperor Nefarious, and Kit respectively. Talk about a Metal Gear Solid reunion. Damn good production value, and it shows.
I'll fight you for it.
The musical score, on the other hand, is kind of forgettable. You have your string and horn pieces to set the scene for an epic adventure, but ultimately nothing really stood out and caught my ear. I kinda wish they'd stepped their game up here, but it was easy to ignore with how visually astounding the game is. Game of the Year candidate? I wouldn't say all that now. Worth the $70 price tag? Definitely. Instant classic? Absolutely. Being the 16th installment in the series, you'd think by now it'd be getting stale, but Insomniac Games still have their creative juices flowing with this series. I felt the retro awesomeness of earlier games, while also acknowledging the advancements in game design that went into it. Playing Rift Apart felt like a Saturday morning cartoon, with its zany characters and hilarious premise, and it felt good. Just goes to show that you don't need to reinvent the wheel every time, or be super duper edgy to make a good game.
You okay, Bolts?
Go play this game if you're one of the lucky few that got a PS5 to actually play it.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, we've still got some unfinished business.
From all of us here at Rotten Apple Gaming, thanks for watching. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and ring that bell to stay updated on the future videos.